Quick question, yo. Which one of your parents are most likely to cheat first?
My father, I ain't gonna lie, you heard? My father, you heard me get a draw, you heard? Legit.
My dad.
Why you say that?
He be with girls every single day. My mom doesn't know. It's like he got like 5 girls at home right now, probably.
Father.
Why you say that?
Happened before.
Huh?
Happened before.
How did it happen?
I don't know. I was 8.
Shit, my dad.
My dad. Hell yeah, my dad. My dad.
My pops.
Why you say your pop?
I don't know. He be chill. You know what I mean? And my mom, she kind of a housewoman. So she don't like going out too much.
None of them, because they married. If you really,
You being innocent or you staying out of this? Like this?
you being innocent.
My father.
Why you say that?
Yeah, dude. He a cheater.
So Mom Duke's just innocent.
Yeah, she go to sleep. She'll be outside.
So this is what they mean about the importance of having a male role model in the home, to teach boys how to be men, right? This video is just sad because you can see the disappointment on most of these boys' faces. I bet if this video were done with children of different ethnicities and different socioeconomic backgrounds, the result would be the same. You could ask 100 other boys and their responses would be nearly identical. The thing these children are saying is something that we all observe and is reflected in society. The person most likely to cheat in a relationship is a man. These children don't need stats to see that truth, that a lot of men have low moral character, a fact that is reflected in their cheating. Now, if men set the tone for their sons' relationships with women, what message is having fathers like this in the home saying? And how can this type of psychological wound turn into resentment for the mother for staying in the relationship? Which brings me to my thesis, which I'm going to warn you is controversial. And that is that having the average man in the home is a net negative for the majority of women and children. Notice I'm speaking on the average cis hetero man. I'm not talking about the present emotionally sound fathers whose main focus is the well-being of their wives and children, or single dads who aren't trying to shove their responsibility onto new girlfriends or female relatives. Even if I base this purely on stats, sure, we can all agree that a healthy and healed man in the home is a positive thing. However, most men are not healthy and healed. People think that they can hide this kind of stuff from kids, and oftentimes men really want to be in the home, and they think that they can hide these parts of themselves. But children always see. They know who their parents are, and you can never hide it well enough from them. If a man is not a healthy, healed human being, it's probably best to stay away. But a lot of men aren't going to do this, which is why they're more likely to want to get married and to have kids. They want to benefit from the labor of the woman in the home, the cooking, the cleaning, all the things that she's expected to automatically do for the kids, while also allowing him access to her body, as well as the status in society of being a father and a husband, which they use as a cloak to look like a good man. Now, I need women to understand that common rhetoric is used for a reason. So when men say it's important to have a man in the home to teach the boys how to be a man, despite evidence to the contrary, it's because they know their contributions don't mean shit compared to moms, especially if they're offering little else except a paycheck, which is something most moms also offer. They know this. They know this in their souls, guys, and we are being gaslit. And I'd argue that if women were given community and resources and didn't make, 70 cents to their dollar, that many women would find that their little paycheck is not worth having in the home to clean up after. And this is why women's access to money is one of the biggest things that the status quo goes after. Because they know if the majority of women had the finances, they would not be with these bums who are traumatizing them and their children in the home, being a drag on the physical and emotional resources while also endangering the moms and the children. Did you know that in 95% of the mammal species, males have little role in raising offspring? Females handle the nurturing, feeding, and protecting the young alone, and oftentimes the male is kicked out of the den or the nest for the protection of the children.
It's that time of year when the female bees kick all the male bees out of the hive, and they don't let them back in so they either starve or freeze to death. Since mating season is over and the male bees don't do any work inside the hive, they are really just extra mouths to feed in the winter when food is scarce. So the female bees have to kick the male bees out for the good of the colony and so the bees can survive until spring.
I could give you hundreds of other examples for what occurs naturally in nature, but I don't have time for that today. So if you get my drift, humans are the abnormal ones here. And I think that this is because of how our society has been structured by the patriarchy. And that is because most of our systems are set up to protect men over the welfare of women and children. And so the men get to stay. Also, did you know that the majority of violent crime and 90% of homicides are committed by men? This is from the FBI, by the way, another primarily male institution. So this isn't biased research. When men are in relationships and marriages with women, their capacity for violence is often minimized to their families instead of greater society. Women and children are the sacrificial buffers in this manner. They know this, and so they have to use this constant messaging about men in the home and their podcast to overinflate their importance in the home and society as a whole, because literally anyone with eyes can look around to the first 5 people they know and tell who is doing the real work in raising the kids. Now I'm going to share some stats that changed my personal perspective on men in the home and also prove that I'm not just being a hater, because hard data doesn't lie. Well, depending on its parameters. 1 child in every 10 homes is being physically abused by a male. 1 in 20 substantiated child sex abuse cases involve a biological father as the predator. And the key word here is substantiated. That means those people who have gone through the system and had those cases validated. Guys, I would estimate that this is much greater realistically, and the vast majority of these offenders of this type of abuse are male. And according to the Department of Justice, 80% of the perpetrators of this type of abuse, with stepfathers increasing potential harm to a child's life by 80%. These figures are from the government that's full of men, okay? And if these are the stats that they publish with the data that they can absolutely substantiate, can you imagine what the real numbers are with all the cases that have never been reported? Now, guys, we're just talking about the bare minimums here. We're talking about the children not being assaulted and abused within the home. The next step up from that is emotional abuse. These are the husbands and fathers who contribute a paycheck to the home, whose wives may work as well, but offer little in love and partnership. These are the king babies, the men who think that they're good men because they don't hurt their kids physically. They leave the majority of the domestic responsibilities to the mother and get a pass from society for being a dad that's there, even if he's just siphoning off the resources of the home. This is where I and the majority of people sit. He's the grumpy lump on the couch that expects dinner every night and for mom to make all the magic of Christmas happen by herself. They don't really do anniversaries and birthdays for their wives because his needs are always prioritized in the home, and you have to walk on eggshells when he's around. But that behavior is so normalized in men that we don't really point it out as narcissistic. It took me so long to realize that this kind of dad is what the majority of the people get. I would say 80% of people, at least. It's super rare to have emotionally connected, caring, involved fathers like we see on sitcoms, but there are some people that I need to give their flowers because younger fathers like millennials and Gen Zers are becoming much better and more involved parents because they grew up in homes with their fathers who weren't super active or emotionally supportive, and they want to do better. Millennial dads are the most involved dads ever, according to research. But still, even with that, most of these dudes are not it, especially if they're boomers or Gen X, and they've skirted by doing the bare minimum. So for all my people who grew up without fathers present in the home, honestly, you might want to thank them for leaving because there are those of us, the majority of us, who did have fathers in the home, and boy, oh boy, were they assholes. I've touched on this before, but there's a growing body of research that indicates that single mother households or households without a male partner can have better outcomes, especially when the alternative would be a high conflict or unstable male presence. Some key findings include reduced exposure to domestic violence compared to homes where a high conflict partner, such as an abusive or unsupportive male, is present. This can contribute to a more stable and peaceful home environment, which benefits both mothers and children. Improved outcomes in high conflict scenarios. Studies show that children often have better psychological and emotional outcomes when raised by a single mother rather than in a household with a high conflict or abusive partner. Guys, most men are high conflict. Can't you tell? Children in single-parent households under these circumstances generally experience less anxiety, aggression, and behavioral issues overall, along with better mental health from others. I could go on about the benefits, but Also, in homes where an unhealed male is present, children can learn negative relationship behaviors, which can negatively impact their future relationships. Single-parent households can lead to fewer behavioral issues and academic disruptions because children need a stable environment. It's critical to their positive growth. And how are you supposed to have that positive growth if you've got an unstable male there? So while single mother households can face challenges, these statistics reflect that a peaceful, stable environment, even with one parent, is better than a high-stress, high-conflict two-parent household. So if you're a woman who has a partner that's just not quite up to par and it's stressing you out, I would encourage you to divorce them if you can swing it financially. It might not be better for him, but it's much better for you and the kids. And coming soon, I'm going to talk a little bit about what it looks like when you keep an emotionally neglectful, high-conflict man like this in the home long term. And hint, it's not pretty. Please like and subscribe for more.